First of all, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
We're all in this together, aren't we?
Yes. So I was running different words through my head when I put my hand up, and then when you called me, indecisiveness was what I was thinking about.
That's that split energy that we were just talking about, isn't it?
Well, I think
there's power in decision because there's power in focus. Because there's no split energy.
So, is there a difference between having a lack of preference versus being indecisive? Like, I think there's so many things that it's like, where do you want to go for dinner? There's small choices and big choices. So a big choice in terms of what I want to do with my career or business.
The most important thing that we want to say to you is that in many of the examples that you're giving to yourself about indecisiveness, they are all pretty much vibrationally equal, and so any one of them would serve you. So it's not so much indecisiveness as it is, there are just lots of choices, sort of like a buffet. There's not one thing and only one thing that's going to satisfy you to have to eat today. There are many things to satisfy you. But the more clear you are about your intentions, then the more easily you can make the decision about what it is you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So lack of preference and indecisiveness are pretty much the same thing, but there's something else that we would like to call them: not much momentum going. If you think in terms of vibrational content rather than specific choice content, in other words, let's say that the choices are, just for fun, come to a seminar, go for a wonderful walk somewhere in some garden, get in your car and go for a road trip into some place that is beautiful, get together with friends and have a really good time, go to a music festival and listen to music. We would say that all of those things are vibrationally comparable. They're different places and different faces, but all of them have that uplifting potential. You see what we're getting at? So it wouldn't matter which one of them you choose, and one wouldn't be more right than the other. They would all be wonderful and uplifting in nature. And so you wouldn't have to stress over it. But let's say while you're segment intending and while you're thinking about it, you're saying, oh, I'm so eager to be outside. I haven't been outside as much as I have been wanting to be outside. And that's something that's pretty strong in your vibration. You know what you don't want, and you know what you do want. And you've furthered that momentum by saying things like, I'm really looking forward to some fresh air, and I really want to get out where I can have a good time. So now, coming to a seminar inside of a room doesn't feel like the best idea, but maybe the music festival is if it's outside, or maybe the driving somewhere. You see what we're getting at? Yeah. And so it just depends upon what things have been important to you, and what things are important to you have to do with knowing what you don't want and knowing what you do want. What we really want to say to you is there really are no wrong answers. You really are not ever getting it wrong. You're always getting it right, and you're never getting it done. But in any moment in time, you can choose to view whatever you're viewing in a way that is uplifting or in concert with the way the source within you is seeing it, or in a way that isn't. That's the only thing that we would like to guide you about relative to these preferences. And meanwhile, collecting data is just a really, really, really fun thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you get into that receptive mode that we're describing, so that the impulses are being inspired as you are moving along, we want to call that sweet spot where you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you're just following the flow of the impulses that are coming to you. You can just go from one exhilarating thing to another to another. You begin to feel like the entire universe is your very personal concierge who is just opening doors for you and guiding you on the path of the most fun and the most clarifying and the most interesting. That's the way it is supposed to feel to you. But you got to get into that receptive mode first. So that's the first order of business that we would be working on. We wouldn't be thinking about what we're going to do with the energy that creates worlds until we've hooked in to the energy that creates worlds. And once you get hooked into it, the ideas will begin to flow. You've been listening for a while, and this is a really leading edge conversation about deliberate creation. So we want to recap that just a little bit to make sure that you understand what we're talking about. So you've been sorting and sifting through life, and you've been doing that preference thing for a long time. So your vortex is full of your preferences. You don't have to keep restating it. You don't have to say to the universe every day, I want to be physically comfortable. You don't have to explain to the universe, I want to feel good. You don't have to explain. In other words, you've already sifted and sorted through life, and your vortex is full of, and your inner being knows that you want to feel good, and that you want to feel clear, and that you want to be dynamic, and that you want to be an uplifter, and that you want the energy to flow through you. In other words, all of that is understood already. So now, your work isn't so much to make a list of, let's see, now what are all of the things that I want to do right now? You've already done that. That's step 1. That's taken care of. And step 2 is taken care of too, because source energy is there. Law of attraction has gathered the cooperative components. So now your work is to get into the receptive mode, which means think the thoughts that make you happy, and think of the people that make you happy. Do whatever it takes. Meditate, take a nap, put your feet in the water, do whatever it takes to get feeling good. Think the thoughts that cause you to feel good, and then let the inspiration flow into the specifics that your preferences have already defined. You see how it works?
Yeah.
But so often you're wanting to utilize this information about the laws of the universe and how you create your own reality by the same making the list of pros and cons. But you've already done that. That was step 1. Now your work is to get into step 3. Get into the receptive mode. That's your only work. And when you do, the preferences that you've already defined will start flowing in vivid form into your experience.
Well, like 2 months ago, I was so excited about creating a business. I had all these visions in my mind, and it felt amazing. I couldn't even contain myself. Like, the only thing that would calm me down was watching The Bachelor and eating chips, because I was so excited about my creation. And then I got bored, and then I stopped thinking about it, and now
But you see, that's not an accurate statement. You didn't just get bored. You thought thoughts that took you into a different vibration. You didn't stop thinking about it. You started thinking about other things. Because if your momentum is as you described it, unless you did something to quell that momentum would stay there. That's why we're saying it's not a topic thing, it's a vibrational thing. What's the program you were watching? What's that about? What's that about?
It's
about someone else making the decisions for you? About competition that doesn't exist? About there being only one prize and everyone fighting over it? We can see how that could put you on a whole different vibrational place, not in sync with your power and your empowerment and the universe cooperating with you. Jerry and Esther were in Aruba a few years ago, and their driver picked them up. And as they were driving around this island, he said, a while ago I picked up one of the girls from The Bachelor. And Esther said, was that nice? And he said, no, I had to drive around for 4 hours because they wouldn't let her out of the car until she cried. And Esther said, things are not actually as they seem to be. Don't watch that show. No, we just don't want you to tell it different than it is. We don't want you to explain that you just got bored. You didn't just get bored. You focused on boring things. Or you just didn't just get discouraged. In other words, when you focus upon things that aren't up to speed with who you really are, then you don't feel like you really are. We just want you to tell it like it really is, vibrationally. You see what we're getting at?
Yeah. So it's also being patient and waiting for...
When you care about your vibration, patience isn't so much required because things keep coming. In other words, just a steady flow of things. But you can't think in vibrational opposition. Describe to us, if you can reconstitute it here, some of the things that you were thinking about relative to your business. What were some of the thoughts you were thinking?
coaching, transforming people's lives, igniting passion, creativity, joy in people who want a different life, just don't know how to get there. I would like to be that facilitator to help them transition into that.
And so you want to teach that, but you were not doing that. You were feeling bored. So don't you think that part of the thing that was unfolding was to show you what to do when you are not feeling the passion? Because words don't teach. So when you find yourself feeling bored, that's the opposite of what you want to feel, and it's certainly the opposite of what you want to teach. So what might you do to get yourself flowing with the energy again?
Not watch The Bachelor.
Well, we were mostly having fun with that, but everything does have a vibrational frequency, and you can tell by the way you're feeling. We're not asking you to get in that hyped up place and stay there forevermore. That's not even logical, but it is logical to be in that high flying place and have your emotions go from passion to interest to satisfaction to exhilaration, to love and appreciation. In other words, all of that seeming range of emotion, it's all in the same vibrational range, but it has different ways that it moves through your physical body, you see. And so your goal is to just feel as good as you can feel as often as you can feel good, and then let the inspiration come. Don't try to force the thought that causes the emotion. Instead, when you find the emotion that feels good, ride the emotion and practice it so that it becomes a more consistent part of your momentum. We've been saying to you, you create your own reality. And then we said to you, let's talk about the science of deliberate creation. And then you got too involved in your thoughts. And so then we said, let's call it the art of allowing. We said, step 1 is done, step 2 is done. Let's focus on step 3. And that's still really what we want to say to you. Focus on step 3. So from your understanding of what the receptive mode is, or practicing the art of allowing, what kinds of things would promote your alignment?
Dancing, listening to Abraham, meditating, painting.
And when you are participating in any of those things, do you find your vibration rising?
Yes.
And so if you understand that that is your singular intention for your vibration to rise, then doesn't it make a lot of things that you tend to do sort of off track? We're not just talking about you, we're talking about everyone. Most conversations are in a receptive mode that's more from a vulnerable place, or from a guarded place, or from an angry place. But when you're in the receptive mode that is from that tuned in, tapped in, turned on place, you can feel it right away, can't you? We wrote a book. In fact, it's the first book that was really recognized globally. And it's called Ask and It Is Given, because it was the emphasis on how these 3 steps really happen. And in this book, there are many processes that help you in the raising of your vibration. But today we're saying to you, you already understand all of that. You know how to raise your vibration. We just want to imbue you with the understanding that that's all that matters. It's all that matters. It's just raising vibration. So you just want to pull out the stops and just do it in whatever way you can, because there's no right way and there's no wrong way. Just pull out the stops and do it in whatever way you can, and then follow the impulse.